Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown,
the unofficial sumo podcast
for official sumo fans.
Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown. This is Ryan.
This is Jake.
This is Mac.
This is Flerick. And this is try number 4 of our introduction for this episode, but if it works out, we're using it.
This is way more than 4.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's at least 5 or 6. Today, we have a very special guest, Andrew Freund with USA Sumo. He is going to be joining us for an interview.
And he's kind of a big deal, and I think that therefore makes us kind of a big deal.
Well, of course.
Yeah, transitive property.
Yes, of course.
I mean, we've always been a big deal. This just elevates us to the next level of big. We're a bigger deal now.
Ooh.
We are Grand Sumo Breakdown, officially a bigger deal.
I like it. I like the title.
Let's just get to the interview.
All right, that sounds good. So joining us today, we have Andrew Freund of the US Sumo Open. He is the producer of the US Sumo Open for the past 18 years. How are you doing, Andrew?
Doing great. Good to see you guys.
It's very nice for you to join us, taking some time out of your busy schedule. We very much appreciate it. If you could just tell us, what is the US Sumo Open and how did it get started?
Well, aside from Japanese Pro Sumo, which you guys normally cover, there is international amateur sumo throughout the world. And very long story short, I started doing sumo as a hobby back in the mid-90s. And almost on a whim, I produced the first US Sumo Open. I created it in 2001. And since then, it's grown year by year. We've had many hundreds of athletes come from around the world to compete. I could tell you a lot of amazing stories, time permitting, but it's kind of a pioneering tournament outside of Japan, in the sense that there are other tournaments, a few other tournaments, especially now in Europe. It's getting more popular. But I'm pretty sure that the US Sumo Open is the only sumo tournament in the world outside of Japan that is going every year continuously for 18 years. I mean, there might be a few that are going for 5 years or 8 years, but we've kept it going somehow for 18 years now.
Very impressive. What's been able to keep you guys going at it so long when other promotions can't do that?
Oh, it's a bit of foolhardiness. It's been a labor of love. I did it, originally thinking, this will be a fun little hobby of mine. And I thought it would be, the very first US Sumo Open, I was teaching multiple full-time teaching. I had multiple full-time teaching jobs. And I ended up bringing Konishiki as the special guest to that first one. I brought a team from Japan, a university group from Japan, and wrestlers from about 15 other countries. And, basically, I didn't realize what I was getting myself into. So that first one, for example, went into massive debt, had to take out loans, put a lien on my car. All the money I was making from jobs went into that. I was sleeping like 4 to 5 a.m. until 7 a.m. every day for about 6 months. So it was pretty devastating to put that on, and I thought I'll never do it again. And somehow we did it again. The next year was a little bit less of a disaster for me personally. Although when I say a disaster for me personally, in terms of the event itself, it's always been a big success. All the fans come who love it, come back again. And these days we're getting about 4,000 or 5,000 people filling a stadium to come and see it every year.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and you certainly wouldn't have been keeping it up if it wasn't personally important to you. It sounds like it's one of those things that's extremely difficult, but a ton of fun for you.
Yeah, it's interesting. Once you put in so much effort and you get it going, it's hard to stop that ball from rolling. So once you put in the effort to produce one tournament, all the fans want to come back, all the athletes want to come back, the media is asking about it, so it just kind of snowballed from there.
Very impressive. So how can we watch this US Sumo Open and any other US Sumo events?
Well, we will have the 18th annual US Sumo Open live streamed on YouTube, and that's going to be on May 12th, Saturday, May 12th, which is Mother's Day weekend. So the day before Mother's Day, perfect gift for your mom. Sit down on the couch.
Perfect gift for me, because that's actually my birthday.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, find that.
Happy Mother's Day, Ryan.
So which one of you guys is going to fly me out to see US Sumo live?
Yeah, maybe we'll put that down for next year.
Maybe.
But yeah, so you do this live in Los Angeles, correct?
Yeah, so the event takes place in Long Beach, California, which is in Los Angeles County. And the main event is 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific time, which for you guys, it's 3 p.m. to 6. East Coast, it would be 4 to 7. Although technically we start the preliminary matches at about 10 a.m., which would be noon your time. So if you want to spend your whole day, go noon to 6 p.m. But the real part you want to check out is from about 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Central, which for me is going to be 1 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Well, lucky for us, we don't ever have anything else going on. So, yeah, there we go.
I'm okay with this.
All-day sumo sounds perfect to me.
And you mentioned that you have preliminaries and then the main event. What is the structure? Is this like an elimination tournament?
Well, the way we've structured it over the years is we want to consider the fans, the athletes, the media, and everybody involved. So we have a lot of guys who fly in from overseas. We don't want them to lose one match and be done. So typically what we do is, let's just say for argument's sake, an even number. Let's say there's 16 wrestlers in the heavyweight division. We would put them in 4 pools of 4 each. And it would be like the World Cup of soccer, etc., where you'd fight everybody in your pool. The top 2 would advance. And once you're done with the advancement in the afternoon for the so-called main event, you would have single elimination, quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals.
Excellent. And, yeah, so you mentioned heavyweight division. You guys have multiple divisions based on weight class, correct?
Yeah, so we follow the protocol dictated by the International Sumo Federation based in Japan. So obviously pro sumo has no weight classes, but the International Sumo Federation created about 25 years ago weight classes for international sumo. So there's a lightweight, middleweight, heavyweight, and open weight for both men and women. And the way it works is, let's say you're a lightweight. You guys might be lightweights or middleweights.
Almost certainly.
Yeah. I've been competing myself, actually, for over 20 years now. Over 20 years. Not in my own tournament, but at other tournaments. So, for example, let's say you're a lightweight. You're going to compete in the lightweight, and if you'd like, you could also compete in the open weight later and beat some guys twice your size if you're really good.
But the structure, that group pool, is you guys go with that same idea for each of the weight classes?
We do that for the lightweight, middleweight, and heavyweight. For the open weight, there's sometimes 30 or 40 competitors, 30 or 40 men at least in the open weight. And so in the open weight, we do a single elimination with guys seeded based on their results in the light, middle, or heavy.
And so you mentioned you have like 30 or 40 different people. What kind of people compete in US Sumo, and how do they get involved with this?
Yeah, actually, we have about 60 competitors. Not all of them end up staying around till the open weight in case they get injured or tired or something. But, yeah, typically there's I'd say about 50 men and about 10 women competing. And the majority of the competitors, probably 80-90%, are guys with backgrounds in football, wrestling, judo, sambo, so similar grappling or combat-type sports. There are some people who just go straight into sumo. I was kind of one of them because I'm from a soccer and basketball background. But, typically you have athletes who are very good in what they do, and they transition into sumo. I just want to add, there are also a few guys that compete at the US Sumo Open who actually competed professionally in Japan. And those guys almost inevitably win virtually all their matches and usually, get the champion titles.
Yeah, I know there's definitely a couple that we've heard of, Bayamba and Yama, I believe.
Yeah, so Byamba, his full name is Byamba Jabulambayar. You can see more about him at sumobyamba.com. Sumo, BYAMBA.com. He spent almost 5 years in pro sumo, and for different reasons, he left early. He left when he was 20. We brought him over here for a movie project back in 2006. So he's competed in 11 consecutive U.S. Sumo Opens. During those 11 years, he has a cumulative record of 104 wins and 5 losses.
Wow, very impressive.
Wow.
I guess that definitely shows that he's used to an extreme level of competition, and in Japan they live it every day. So he's certainly got an experience advantage over a lot of competitors over here, doesn't he?
Yeah, he sure does. He has an incredible range of techniques, natural athletic ability, and he's really a master of what sumo takes. And it's not just that he knows all the fundamentals. He mentally does what it takes to win. So a lot of guys show up and they're they're messing around between matches, they're joking. He gets away from everybody else, gets in the zone, does his warm-up. So he's very mentally focused too, which you see any top athletes in any sport do that kind of thing.
Yeah, he also, I hear he's also one of the more involved guys in media. He was in a commercial recently, right?
I've booked him on about 20 or 30 commercials this year already. So over the last 12 years, we've booked him on close to 300 commercials worldwide now. I'm not sure which one you're talking about this year. Which one is that?
Figure skating?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
it was
one
the
that
ice
we've
skating
seen on
one.
TV. It's still on TV all the time. Biamba, that Geico commercial where he has the figure skating routine.
Yeah.
That's one of his older commercials. We shot that 2 years ago in June, so that's almost 2 years old.
Oh.
Yeah, he just did a commercial shoot yesterday, actually, and he has a couple more next week. So he's, without a doubt, the most prolific sumo entertainer on the planet. Not only have we booked him on several hundred commercials, but I've lost count of how many hundreds and hundreds of TV shows he's been on, movies, music videos, documentaries, everything, you name it. I mean, if you go to his site, you'll see just a few of those that we posted. Since he came here 12 years ago, we send him overseas almost every month on a project. So I think he's on his sixth, maybe his seventh passport during that time, because every year or two he has to turn over a new passport because they all get full.
Oh, wow.
Sure gets around.
Yeah, definitely. And something else that I've learned about U.S. sumo tournaments, there's some differences from what we've seen in Japan. Can you go into a couple of those differences? Obviously, the tournament structure.
Yeah, so the US Sumo Open follows 99% of all the guidelines by International Sumo Federation. So obviously, in international rules and amateur rules, you don't do the more elaborate ritual like you do in pro sumo. So it's abbreviated. And international amateur sumo shouldn't pretend to be pro sumo. So you don't want to do anything pretentious like wearing a keisho mawashi, doing dokyo iri or something like that. So essentially we follow the standards prescribed by the International Sumo Federation. Essentially for the viewer, what that means to you is instead of seeing a match once every 5 minutes, you're seeing a match every minute or every 2 minutes. So it's a lot faster paced. People who like sports gravitate toward that. People who really love the Japanese culture might miss a little bit of what they're expecting in pro sumo.
Yeah, and I think something I've also noticed is like the ref starts the tachi-ai. Is that correct? It's not just the fist are down, then you go, the ref starts it.
Yeah, in pro sumo, the referee, the gyoji, is there essentially to supervise and make sure all four fists go down to start the match. In amateur sumo, the four fists go down first, and as soon as the referee sees that's been accomplished, the referee gives a verbal command.
Okay.
But other than that, the once the match begins, it's the same rules.
Yeah, I would say I don't know any differences in terms of the actual match. 99% is the same. There may be some, I'd have to check, but in terms of, let's say, things like harite or some kinds of spotty, basically very aggressive, vigorous attacks to the face, I think are going to be somewhat subjectively judged a little more strictly in amateur sumo. In other words, you don't want to knock somebody upside the head with a clear intent to knock them out or hurt them. But I think really that's a lot of subjectivity. In pro sumo, they're a little more lenient with that. In amateur sumo, those kind of things are probably enforced a little bit more.
Okay.
Well, even in the Japan circuit, they're trying to regulate more blows to the face and trying to get rid of that, well, at least minimize it as much as possible.
Yeah. It seems like it might be... Sorry, it seems like it might be something where if it's not something that you're doing professionally, if it's not your entire livelihood, you probably don't want to risk quite as much head damage.
Yeah, well, exactly. And you mentioned in Japan. In Japan, the way things are regulated is after the tournament, a few of the the shimpancho, the head judges will grumble a little bit, make a few comments to the Sumo Association and say this was not good. And basically, the guys who are guilty of being, too violent know they better not do it next time. So it's a time lag. In amateur sumo, if you do something wrong, it has to be enforced right away because you might not see that guy again for a year or two.
And then you also mentioned earlier that you have a women's division. How have you seen that women's division contribute to the success of the U.S. Sumo Open?
Well, again, women's sumo, it follows the guidelines implemented by the International Sumo Federation. So there's lightweight, middleweight, heavyweight. The ostensible one of the goals of amateur sumo is to become an Olympic sport. In order to become an Olympic sport, number one, you want weight classes, just like in boxing or judo. And number two, you want to have both genders compete. And we found there's not as many women, obviously, doing sumo, but there are a lot out there that love it, that get into it, that go crazy about it. Recently, in our weekly practices here in Los Angeles, I've been running practices here for over 20 years, about 21 years, 22 years. Typically, we've had about a dozen guys and maybe 7 or 8 women at every practice. Okay. So there's a lot of interest from women these days. In terms of the tournament itself, I mean, fans would come and watch if it were only guys, but I think a lot of people also enjoy watching the women's divisions.
Definitely. I know Jake's wife, Katie, who we've had on the program before, would definitely get into that a lot.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And then besides the US Sumo Open, which obviously you're very heavily involved in, are there any other events throughout the year, like in the United States or internationally, that people can follow that are outside of the Japanese pro sumo tournaments?
Yeah, there's a few other smaller tournaments in different parts of the country each year here. It's not going to be 4,000 fans and international competitors. It's going to be mostly local Americans. There are other countries, mainly in Asia and Europe, where amateur sumo is developing more rapidly, and they do have regular tournaments. The other thing you might want to check out is we often bring guys like Yama, some of the former pros, and we tour around the country and do live shows. We just went to New York City last month. We did. We're on a tour called Sumo Sushi Show Tour, and so, for example, we filled PlayStation Theater in New York City. 4 shows were sold out, 800 people a show. People pay about $100. They get a sushi meal and watch our entertaining sushi and sumo performance. Now, we have some of those shows this month in April now, April 2018, in Seattle, and more to come. You guys are in the Midwest, I believe. We're going to be up in Michigan in June, actually. We're going to be actually performing at a minor league baseball game. It's West Michigan Whitecaps on June 7th, and the next day, June 8th, we're going to be at the Grand Rapids Asian Festival. So we're going to hit 2 events up in Michigan in June. We'll be in Chicago in early August. We'll be in San Francisco in September. There's many more I'm missing, but we almost every month we usually do 2 or 3 different cities on these different tours.
Where is a good place to keep up to date on all the events happening with USA Sumo?
Great question. If you go to usasumo.com and you look at the top, there should be an event calendar. And I can probably put that up here, but basically if you go to usasumo.com and at the top, it says events, and you can click on event calendar and see a few of our upcoming public events. We do a lot of private events, corporate events too, but we don't post those. But in terms of private public events, there's quite a few posted on that page. Actually, we're going to be in New York City. Oh, it's crazy. At the end of this month, April 28th, 29th, we're actually going to be doing 4 sumo sushi shows in Seattle. The same weekend, we're doing 4 live shows at Citi Field in New York City. So we have to split up the guys we're sending. And we have our sumo wrestlers, another huge guy from Japan, doing a huge event, WWE event in Saudi Arabia. So we're going to be in 3 cities simultaneously the same weekend.
Would that be the greatest Royal Rumble event in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, how'd you know about
that? Very big WWE fan.
Gotcha. That's the one. One of our guys is going to be in that event too.
Oh, that is very cool. I'll definitely have to watch out for that.
Oh, you were already.
Oh, well, obviously, but... and so you had mentioned that you've been in sumo, performing sumo for over 20 years. You got any accolades to your name, or have you done?
Well, I was doing it just for fun, and I started out at about 142 pounds. I've bulked up now after 20-something years. I'm up to about 155. But I am multi-time national champion in the lightweight division. And, I've competed a few times. I haven't competed all those years, but the years I've competed, I've normally gotten, either gold, silver, or bronze. At this point, I'm about double the age of most of the competitors, and I'm 155. Most of them are 200 or so. They cut weight to weigh in a day or two before. In the ring, they're 187, which is the cap. So I'm going against guys that are like 30 to 35, 40 pounds heavier, and usually 20, 25 years younger.
That's pretty funny. I mean, I'm also a mixed martial arts fan, and 187 that's higher than middleweight in mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
No, that's funny. So lightweight's 187. What are middleweight and heavyweight?
Well, technically, lightweight is 85 kilos, which is roughly 187, close to 188. Middleweight is 115 kilos, which is really close to 254 pounds, and heavyweight is above that.
Okay. Pretty much open after that 254-pound limit.
Yeah, above that would be heavy, and then open weight guys of all sizes compete together.
Okay.
Do you have places where you can train? Are there heias like there are over in Japan?
Well, I wouldn't call them heias because like a sumo beia in Japan is obviously a full-time commitment where you live, sleep, work, train, cook, get beaten up, etc. But here there are a few different places in the country. There's pockets of people training in sumo. So like I said, I've been running practices here in Los Angeles for over 20 years. Started the first few years at UCLA where I was teaching. And we currently have a dojo that we rent space in, once or twice a week. There are a few guys active in the New York, New Jersey area. I believe in Texas. And there's a few people here and there, like in Idaho, Florida, but there's not a whole lot to choose from. So, a lot of people actually, we have people, let's say in Northern California, who drive 6 hours to come down and train with us in LA, because obviously we have some of the best guys from, formerly in Japan and Pro Sumo or University who are running our practices with me. So it's not a whole lot of options to train in sumo here, but hopefully, if there's anybody interested, make it out to LA, and you can train with us, including with former Yamamoto Yama. We call him Yama, who's the heaviest Japanese human being in recorded history, as far as we know.
Wow, very impressive. And it sounds like, it's people making 6-hour drives. Once you're in it, you love it and you're committed to it.
Yeah, just like you getting your start, it sounds like that's the passion takes over.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of guys come out and they compete and they feel like they could have done better, and sumo is one of those things where you can put in tens of hours, hundreds of hours of work, all for a few seconds of improvement in the ring. So, the payoff is huge, but it's a matter of seconds. So once people feel like, I should have won that, they put in the work. Next time they come back and they, they're dedicated. They want to do better. They want to win. That's for sure.
All right. I think that's everything we had planned for Andrew. I just wanted to give you a big thank you for joining our show, telling us more about the US Sumo Open and just international sumo in general.
Especially this busy time when you're working up towards your big event.
Yeah. And one more time, when is the US Sumo Open and how can people watch it again?
Sure. The 18th annual US Sumo Open is on Saturday, May 12th, 2018. And it starts at 10 a.m. Pacific, which is 1 p.m. Eastern, but the real main event is going to be starting at 1 p.m. Pacific, which is 4 p.m. Eastern. And you can see it live streaming on YouTube. For details, just go to usasumo.com, and it will have all the links and information about the tournament. Obviously, if you have a few viewers in closer proximity, obviously in California, come on down to Long Beach, California, and see the event live. We have thousands of people who show up and buy tickets, and the tickets range anywhere from $25 up to $150.
All right. Well, hopefully someday we'll be able to fly out there and see it live, but I know we're going to be tuned in on Saturday to watch it ourselves. And once again, thank you so much for joining us, Andrew.
You guys got it. Good luck with your ongoing broadcast there, and we'll see you hopefully next year at the tournament.
All right. Thank you. Once again, we want to thank Andrew for joining us and telling us more about the USA Sumo Open and just more about international sumo in general. What were you guys' thoughts?
I thought it was pretty good. I was definitely interested where he was talking about it's all kind of based off of the amateur I think, International Sumo Federation from out of Japan.
Yeah, that's not something that we've really dealt with much before.
No, definitely something we'll try to look into more in the future because you definitely talked about getting sumo into the Olympics. So that definitely something I'd be interested in, especially as it's coming to Tokyo in 2020.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Japan just wants more gold medals because they would win so hard.
Well, all they have to do is
definitely.
put Hakuho in the ring, and then everybody would just walk out.
Would Hakuho compete under Japan's flag?
Ooh.
Scandal.
Can he
That's
not?
what they're going to keep Kisano Sato out until 2020 just to guarantee the
Oh.
gold.
There you go.
They're keeping him fresh.
Could a retired Yokozuna compete in the Olympics?
We'll find out.
Takanohana
Probably
throws
not.
his
I don't
head in the
think- I
ring
mean,
again.
I don't think so. That's a completely other subject. We might hit it in a bonus episode. Probably not, but we might. But if you enjoyed this bonus episode, you can go to Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review, or any other podcast listening service.
You can find us on Twitter at GSumo Breakdown or Facebook at Grand Sumo Breakdown.
You can check out our blog, grandsumobreakdown.wordpress.com, for our power rankings and fantasy sumo league.
If you have any questions, comments, or corrections, drop us a line at grandsumobreakdown@gmail.com or give us a call at 805-613-7866. That's 805-613-SUMO.
All right, that's it for this time. We'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to Grand Sumo Breakdown.
Until next time.
Throw your salt high.
And keep moving forward.
Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown. This is Ryan.
This is Jake.
This is Mac.
This is Flerick.
And
No names!
This is Flerick.
Flerick.
This is Flerick. This is like the third time we go through it. God damn it.
all right, let's try that one more time.
Quit smiling, damn it.
This is Flerick.
That's
Welcome. Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown. This is Ryan.
This is Jake.
This is Mac.
And this is Flerick.
Today is a bonus episode that we will be presenting to your lovely ear holes.
Done. You're done.
Wait, are you going to get...
To the interview.
Wait.